Hey, what are you doing here? In the middle of a winter park, a ragged girl stood naked. Here, use these shoes and gloves. She seemed to have a complicated situation, but I thought her life was in danger from hypothermia. So I gave her the shoes and gloves I was going to give to my girlfriend and had the police take her into protective custody. 9 years later, having forgotten all about that incident, I suddenly had a severe stomachache, lost consciousness, and woke up in a hospital room. I was in despair when a nurse told me I had a serious illness, but then a beautiful doctor wearing familiar shoes appeared in front of me. My name is Jack White. I work at a small factory that manufactures medical instruments. Our main products are scissors, scalpels, and other surgical tools. They're essential for surgery. They're simple in structure, but profoundly intricate when you dig deeper. We exclusively make such medical instruments. They're highly regarded by doctors. The small factory is still developing. It's set to grow even bigger in the future. However, right now, there's something more important than work. I finish my job, rush home, and take a shower. Then, I pick out my most expensive suit. I style my hair nicely and get ready. I head to the meeting place. On the way, I get an essential item for the day. Sorry to keep you waiting. You're always early. I've never arrived before you. Really, but I hate being late. Let's go. Okay. So, where are we going? I dressed up as you told me to. You'll see. Today is our first anniversary. That's right. It's a special day. I splurged and made a reservation at a high-end French restaurant. Her name is Amy Johnson. Amy loves French cuisine. Isn't this amazing? How much does this place cost? It looks expensive. Don't worry about the money. It's our 1-year anniversary. It's a special day, and I wanted to have a nice meal at a nice place. You remembered. I'm so happy. Then we enjoyed our meal. A year with Amy has flown by. I guess time flies when you're having fun. Absolutely. Being with you is always fun, Jack. Always. Recently, I've been thinking it might be nice to start living together with you, Amy. What? Are you serious? I wouldn't joke about something like this. Amy was clearly embarrassed. She blushed and looked away. Then, I gave a signal to the waiter. The surprise gift for Amy was shoes and gloves. They're products from a world-renowned brand famous for its extremely expensive bags. The shoes and gloves were quite expensive for me, but they were adorable and perfect for Amy, so I bought them without hesitation. Actually, I'm thinking it's time to meet your parents, Amy. I think it's better to meet them face to face before suddenly talking about marriage. Thank you. That makes sense. In that case, I should also meet your parents, Jack. I knew this topic would come up eventually. It was unavoidable. I took a deep breath and started to talk. The truth is, my parents are no longer alive. But Amy suddenly stood up with a fierce look in her eyes. I was taken aback and stopped mid-sentence. What? Your parents are dead? I can't date someone like that. Her expression turned from happy to hostile. There's no way I'm living with someone without parents. You should have told me earlier. What a waste of time. Being with you is pointless. With that, she walked away without saying another word, as if I wasn't even there. Right after, the waiter came over with the present. The plan was to surprise Amy with the gift. But that was no longer possible. I left the restaurant and tried calling Amy, but she never picked up again. Devastated, I began to walk aimlessly. For a while, I wandered around like a sleepwalker. How long did I wander around? I have no memory of it at all. Where am I? The surroundings were completely unfamiliar. I checked my phone for the time. It was 2 a.m. Based on the time, I had been walking for at least 4 hours. The shock must have been that great. It felt like an out-of-body experience. What else can I say? Where am I? The streetlights cast a dull glow on the asphalt. I needed to figure out where I was. I pulled out my phone and checked my location. To my surprise, I was only a 15-minute walk from my house. It seems I'm just in a convoluted area. It's just an unfamiliar residential neighborhood, but apparently I was heading towards home. I was impressed by my own homing instinct. Well, whatever. I just wanted to get home and sleep. I followed my phone's directions to a main road I recognized and started walking home. Once I got here, I knew I was okay. Then I started walking towards home. As I passed a park, I glanced inside and froze, because an unbelievable sight awaited me there. There, on a bench, was a ragged girl. Her hair was cut in a bob, and under the dim streetlights, I couldn't see her face clearly. But what caught my attention the most was that she was barefoot. Barefoot in the middle of winter? How did she get to this park? What is she doing here? My mind was filled with questions about this girl. Judging by her appearance, she seemed to be a middle school or high school student. I thought it might be best to hear her story. With that in mind, I unconsciously stepped into the park. The girl noticed me but didn't move an inch. Her demeanor was emotionless. She seemed unaffected by anything. A normal girl her age would be scared to be alone in a park at midnight. "What are you doing here at this hour?" I asked, but she didn't respond. "If the police find you, you'll get taken in, you know?" She looked at the ground, showing no interest in me at all. I couldn't help but notice her bare feet. "Why are you barefoot? What happened?" She completely ignored me. Maybe it would be better not to get involved. There are definitely times when you don't want to talk to anyone. Times when you just want to be left alone. I had been dumped by someone I had thought about marrying. If people expressed their concern and tried to give advice, it would probably just annoy me. I sat down next to the girl. "Don't mind me. I just needed to sit and take a break." And then I just sat there in silence. The silence lasted for about 10 minutes. Then the girl spoke. "Don't bother with me. I'm not worth it." She said this listlessly. Her name was Emily Smith. Just as I had guessed, she was a high school student. Why was she here at this hour, in this place? At the right moment, I asked her. It seemed she had opened up a bit while talking to me. She told me her story. "The truth is, I lost my parents in a car accident not long ago. It happened so suddenly that I didn't even have time to grieve. And now, I'm all alone in the world. I have relatives, but it doesn't feel that way. They treat me like an object. Otherwise, they wouldn't be passing me around from one to another, right? I feel like nobody needs me." Thinking that way, everything started to seem pointless. I impulsively ran away from the relative's house I was staying at, and that's why I'm barefoot. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. High school is a crucial period, right in the middle of adolescence. It's also a time for personality development. Losing both parents and being treated poorly by relatives during such a time could easily lead to despair. I had just been dumped, but I thought her pain was far greater than mine. Of course, it's impossible to compare suffering. Yet, I was glad I had spoken to her. I felt good about reaching out. But just feeling good about myself wasn't enough. That would be self-satisfaction. I wanted to lighten Emily's burden, even just a little. Moreover, I could somewhat understand how she felt. I can't imagine what it's like to be passed around by relatives. It must be incredibly tough, especially at your age, Emily. If I were in your position, I might not have been able to escape. I might have just curled up and stayed put. So, it's impressive that you chose to take action and escape." Emily said nothing. I glanced down at my feet and noticed her bare feet with visible scars. "And I can imagine, at least in outline, how you felt when your parents suddenly passed away." "I lost my parents early too." "In a car accident?" "No, my father wasn't around before I could even remember. He had a congenital heart condition. My mother raised me by herself. It was a single-parent household. But she worked too hard and eventually passed away from illness. At the time, I was a high school student, just like you. I looked up at the sky. Perhaps because it was midnight. The stars seemed to shine brighter than usual. It felt like it had been a long time since I had looked at the sky. I realized I hadn't paid attention to the stars in ages. And then I became reckless, just like you. I did a lot of dangerous things and ended up getting seriously injured. The scars are still on my body. At that time, I thought I was done for. I thought my life was over. But the doctor who operated on me said they would save me no matter what. And they did. Later, I found out that my survival rate was less than 1%. That's amazing. So, I changed my mindset. Having once given up on life, I couldn't keep living recklessly. I felt I owed it to my parents. I was born into this world. I wanted to achieve something. So, I took over the factory my mother left behind and dreamed of making it bigger. That dream continues to this day. Actually, Emily was looking directly at me. Actually, I have a dream too. I want to become a doctor and help as many people as possible. My parents died in an accident, but there are so many people who suffer from injuries and illnesses. It's not just the patients, it's also the people around them. I know I can't save everyone, but I want to reduce that suffering even a little. I thought she was a truly good person. Not everyone can think that way. It's easy to be consumed by one's own losses. Wanting to become a doctor to save people. I was saved by a doctor, which is why I'm here. I felt sure that Emily could do it. Then I remembered the gift. For now, it's not good to be barefoot in this cold. Use these. I was going to give them to my ex-girlfriend, but that's not happening anymore. I handed her the shoes and gloves. Are you sure? These are incredibly expensive branded items, right? I've seen them online. It's fine. I don't need them. If you don't want to accept a gift from a guy who got dumped, that's understandable. Thank you, she said, gratefully accepting them. By some coincidence, both the shoes and gloves fit her perfectly. Maybe I bought these just for you, I said. I understand why you might think that, she replied with a smile. After that, I took Emily to the police station. I couldn't leave a high school girl out at this hour. She understood and agreed. As we parted, Emily waved to me. Her expression looked as if she had let go of something heavy. I felt she would be all right from now on. Emily, who had been as down as I once was. I was glad I could somehow cheer her up. I truly felt that way. And that realization had a positive impact on me as well. Emily's dream of becoming a doctor, knowing her determination inspired me as well. Of course, I thought I was doing my best at work. But then I started to reflect on myself. Was I really giving it my all? I realized that parts of my daily routine had become numb. There were indeed some areas that had become sloppy. I realized this thanks to Emily. If we hadn't met, I probably would never have reflected on my work. The shock of being unfairly dumped by Amy also faded away. Emily's story overshadowed that. And for that, I was grateful. I prayed for Emily to achieve her dreams. And I also faced my own dreams with renewed determination. As a result, changes began to emerge in the factory I inherited. Our factory manufactures medical instruments. We had always been committed to improving the usability of our medical tools. But after meeting Emily, this effort accelerated. My motivation clearly increased. This enthusiasm spread to the employees as well. It became evident how important it is for the leader to be passionate and have a vision. I strongly felt this. Our factory's main products are scissors and scalpels. Because they are simple tools, the design, manufacturing process, materials, and craftsmanship are crucial. We reviewed everything comprehensively and upgraded them. Our scissors and scalpels were already highly regarded by medical professionals. But their reputation soared even higher. This recognition spread among healthcare professionals. As a result, we were able to secure deals with incredibly prestigious hospitals. It would be amazing if our instruments were used there. It's a hospital so prestigious that people think. This gave the employees immense confidence. Naturally, they were thrilled to see their hard work appreciated. Of course, I was happy. I can't count how many times I heard, "Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. The factory staff was overjoyed. Our company's performance continued to rise. Consequently, our workload increased, and we became busier. I had almost no private time, but I didn't mind at all. Sometimes, you have to make sacrifices and seize the moment. Who knows when such an opportunity will come again? There was no choice but to work hard. So, I became a workaholic and worked relentlessly. There used to be a commercial during the bubble economy era with the phrase, "Can you work 24 hours a day?" I embodied that sentiment, working tirelessly. Time flew by at an incredible speed. For 9 years, I worked with all my might, without even thinking about having a girlfriend. The factory grew unbelievably large. The number of staff increased to the point where I couldn't remember everyone's name. There was no fault in terms of factory expansion. But there was a side effect. No matter how much I slept, I couldn't shake off the fatigue. I'm in my mid-30s now. I can't really say I'm young anymore. So I attributed my condition to aging. Besides, I didn't want to worry my colleagues at the factory. I'm the head of this factory. What would happen if they knew I wasn't feeling well? Morale would definitely drop. I didn't want that to happen. So, I continued working at the same pace despite feeling off. One day, a hospital expressed interest in adopting our factory's medical instruments. I was waiting for the sales representative from that hospital. If this hospital adopted our products, our medical instruments would be used throughout the state. It would be a significant achievement. I was confident. They were sure to adopt our products. Given our factory's track record, it seemed unlikely they wouldn't. The moment they showed interest, I knew we had it, but I hadn't been feeling well for some time. I had stomach cramps and sharp pains, accompanied by frequent urges to use the restroom. These symptoms had been occurring for weeks. I tried over-the-counter medication for stomach pain, but it had no effect. I somehow managed to sit in my chair, waiting for the sales representative. But I was in a really bad state. I was in no condition to work. But I couldn't miss this opportunity. However, it didn't work out. As soon as the sales representative entered the room, I collapsed. I remember falling from the chair, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I saw an unfamiliar ceiling. I couldn't understand why I was lying in a bed in an unknown room. Where am I? Why am I here? And 4 was attached to my left arm. How long had I been lying in this bed? It seemed I was being given an 4 because I couldn't take in any nutrition. My body felt weak. I was curious about where I was, but I didn't have the energy to move. So, I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling. "Oh, you're awake." That's a relief. How much time had passed? A pleasant young nurse entered the room and spoke to me. I have no idea why I'm here. Can you tell me why I'm here? Have you heard of IBD or inflammatory bowel disease? You collapsed because your condition worsened. You might be more familiar with ulcerative colitis. Haven't you been feeling unwell for quite some time? The doctor was amazed at how long you endured it. I was shocked to hear that. How did it come to this? The name of this disease was deeply etched in my mind. I would never forget it, because this disease took my mother's life. My mother suffered greatly before passing away. That image was vividly etched in my mind. So when I heard the diagnosis, it hit me hard. I might not have much time left. I thought negatively. Maybe I'm genetically predisposed to this illness. That could mean I'll leave this world soon too. These thoughts kept coming and going in my mind. I think a nurse said, "I'll call the doctor, okay?" I'm not sure if she really said that. In my head, the word ulcerative colitis kept repeating endlessly. I couldn't think of anything else. I believed I would end up with the same fate as my mother. That was destiny. There was no escaping it. I couldn't stop these negative thoughts. Gradually, I felt my heart beating faster. Oh no, I might lose consciousness again. I think I heard the door open. I'm not sure if it really did. It felt like reality and illusion were blending together. I never expected to reunite with you here. I turned my head towards the voice. A beautiful woman with long hair stood there. She seemed familiar. "I will be your attending doctor." I always believed that connections would eventually come full circle. She seemed to know me. I should know her too. Her voice was familiar, but I couldn't connect the past and the present. Then I noticed her shoes. Branded once. Suddenly, my memories connected with the image of the woman standing there. You made it. You achieved your dream. Yes, standing there was Emily, the woman I met in the park at midnight. Emily had successfully fulfilled her dream of becoming a doctor. She told me that even after meeting me in the park, she was shuffled around by relatives. It made sense. Meeting me didn't suddenly improve everything, but it seemed my words had resonated with her. Despite her challenging environment, she continued to study with all her might. She decided to go to university on a scholarship and succeeded in getting into her first-choice medical school. She then left the unwelcoming relative's house and started living alone in an apartment. Of course, the scholarship didn't cover everything, so she worked multiple part-time jobs. Medical school is known for its rigorous programs. Honestly, she probably had little time for part-time work. It must have been an incredibly tough situation. Yet, Emily never gave up. Her dream of becoming a doctor kept her going. It was unshakable. Emily lived each day to the fullest, cutting back on sleep. Of course, she had no time for leisure. When you think of a college student, you might imagine them having fun. But once you enter medical school, there's no time for that. Moreover, Emily even worked a part-time job. Despite this, her grades were outstanding. She consistently achieved excellent results, far surpassing anyone else. And she completed her 2 years in medical school brilliantly. But it didn't end there. She still had to pass the national medical exam. Even though the pass rate is over 90%, you can't pass without solid knowledge. The high pass rate is due to the immense effort and continuous learning by those aspiring to be doctors. You can't even take the national medical exam without studying for 2 years in medical school. Then, she smoothly passed the national medical exam. But the journey to becoming a doctor didn't end there. She still needed 2 years of clinical training as an intern. And even then, it wasn't over. These 2 years are for learning a wide range of medical knowledge. Then, she would spend another 3 to 6 years specializing in her chosen field. Finally, she would become a full-fledged doctor. As you can see, becoming a doctor requires an enormous amount of time and effort. Emily was now in this final stage. That should be enough. It's clear that becoming a doctor requires overcoming tremendous hurdles. I'm sure you understand. I felt genuinely happy. I always believed Emily would achieve her dreams. But seeing it happen before my eyes was truly joyous. You're amazing, really. I became a doctor because I met you, Jack. You inspired me to study when I had given up and didn't care about anything. Maybe that's true. But in the end, you're the one who did it, Emily. Seeing it through is incredible. Congratulations. I was genuinely pleased. Then it hit me. Right. I'm hospitalized. And for the same illness that took my mother's life. Remembering this, my negative feelings resurfaced. I suddenly felt weak. Can you blame me? I had unexpectedly reunited with Emily. But it wouldn't be surprising if I ended up with a similar fate. Leaving this world due to the same disease as my mother. Apparently, Emily noticed my mood drop right away. Of course, you're feeling down. It's understandable, given that you've collapsed. I get how you feel. I mentioned my mother died of an illness, but I didn't say what it was, did I? She had ulcerative colitis, the same illness I have now. Can you believe it? So you're my attending doctor, right? You must know how serious my condition is. While it's a bit reassuring that you're in charge, it doesn't change the fact that it's serious, does it? I still have so much I want to do. Why did it have to turn out like this? I was consumed by despair. I didn't have much time left. I was convinced. Jack, it's understandable that you're feeling down. Knowing that your mother had the same illness, it's natural to think you might too. But it's going to be okay. What does she mean by okay? I suddenly collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. That alone proves that my condition is quite severe. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now. Emily, being kind, is just trying to comfort me by saying it's okay. At least, that's what I thought. But Emily seemed genuinely convinced that she could cure me. I appreciate you trying to reassure me. It's nice of you. But could you be straightforward with me? It would help me move on without any regrets. I must be pretty serious, right? I must be close to the edge. Can you still say it's going to be okay? Are you confident you can cure me? Emily spoke firmly. Yes, I am absolutely sure I can cure you, Jack. Still, I couldn't believe it. Is that even possible? It seems you have a mistaken image of ulcerative colitis. Since your mother passed away from it, you might think it's a disease that will take your life too. That's understandable. But have you ever researched ulcerative colitis? I slowly shook my head. Of course, I hadn't. This disease took my mother's life, and I hated it. Honestly, I couldn't bear to see or hear the name. I wanted to erase it from my mind. I figured as much. You seem to think it's like terminal cancer. But it's not. Yes, current medicine finds it hard to completely cure. The exact cause is still unknown. However, with proper treatment, it's possible to lead a normal life. With a regular lifestyle, you can maintain a good condition. In that case, your chances of dying are the same as any healthy person. This was news to me. That's true. It makes sense, given that I knew nothing about the details of the disease. Even so, I still had my doubts. Isn't it? After all, my mother did pass away from it. It would be strange not to have doubts. So, there's no need to be so down or to give up. If you leave it to me, I'm sure you'll be okay. Given your condition, you don't need to have your entire colon removed. Trust me, you'll be fine. Emily said this with such confidence, it almost dispelled my anxiety. Of course, not all my worries disappeared. But I felt I could trust Emily, given how positively she spoke. If it didn't work out, so be it. I decided to leave everything in Emily's hands. And Emily performed the surgery successfully. Moreover, she did it for free, saying it was because she owed me from the past. I told you, didn't I? If you leave it to me, it'll be all right. Saying this proudly, Emily had become a doctor I could absolutely rely on. You know, Emily, you're like the sun. I think you'll become a renowned doctor in the future. Just thinking it isn't enough. You have to say I definitely will. Then she winked and smiled. I found her very charming. Even after the surgery, recovery wasn't immediate. I had to continue visiting the hospital after being discharged. Naturally, I always saw Emily, who was in charge of my care. You're fine now. You probably won't need to come for check-ins anymore. You've done well so far. But don't push yourself too hard, okay? I know you said work is like a hobby, but don't take on anything too strenuous right away. I was deeply moved. I thought I was done for. But now I was feeling better than before I got sick. I am truly grateful to Emily for that. However, I also felt a bit lonely now that my illness was cured. Why? It's because I won't have the opportunity to meet Emily anymore. Without the excuse of being sick, I won't get to see her. I was thinking about this during my checkup. Emily, being sharp, seemed to sense my inner turmoil. Are you worried about something? If there's anything, please tell me. I'll chase away your worries. You already know my skills as a doctor, right? You can trust me completely. Don't look so anxious. I'll give it to you straight. You know what? I'll take you up on that. Yes, I am worried. Well, maybe not worried, but the thought of it makes me very sad. The thought that I won't have any more opportunities. It makes me restless. I've been thinking about it for a while, but now that it's getting closer, I realize it's going to hurt more than I expected. Emily tilted her head, looking confused. Sorry, can you be more specific? You're being too abstract, and I can't understand what you're saying. I get that something is approaching. So, are you saying you'll be sad when your illness is cured, and it's more painful than you imagined? No, I still don't get it. Apparently, I had been too roundabout. My true feelings didn't get across at all. But saying it straight out was a bit embarrassing. However, if I hesitated here, our relationship might end. So, I decided to throw a straight ball. Let me be direct. I'm sad that I won't be able to see you after today. As soon as I said that, Emily blushed. What are you thinking? We're in the middle of a checkup. I know. But this is the only chance I have to say it. We haven't exchanged phone numbers, Line, or Instagram. There's no way for us to keep in touch. I can't get sick just to come to the hospital, right? What I'm saying is, I want to see you outside of the hospital. You're surprisingly bold, aren't you, Jack? Well, maybe not that surprising. You did talk to me in the park out of nowhere the same day you got dumped by your girlfriend. But I don't dislike that about you. In fact, I kind of admire it. And so, we exchanged contact information and said goodbye. I immediately contacted her and asked if she wanted to have dinner sometime. She replied right away, saying yes. I later found out that Emily was also sad about our impending separation. But she didn't have the courage to say anything herself and was unsure what to do. It turns out we both felt the same way. Now, I'm heading to the French restaurant I reserved. You might wonder why I'd go back to a place with bad memories. You might think that way, but I don't believe in those kinds of superstitions anymore. I can think this way thanks to Emily, who completely cured me of the same illness that took my mother. Coincidence is just that, and things connect when they are meant to. During dinner, Emily told me something. When she operated on me, she used scissors and scalpels made by my factory. Apparently, she had known for a while that I manufactured such medical instruments. She had come across an interview I did for a magazine. Since then, she had always hoped to meet me again. Impressive, isn't it? With that thought, we continued our relaxed conversation, enjoying the afterglow of our meal.